Welcome students in standard 7th class NCERT syllabus history subject. As we all enjoy listening various stories like kings, their administration, their battles and achievements and so on. Today I am going to teach you the chapter. After end of the chapter you will come to know about various kings, their administrations as well as their achievements. So we will start chapter 2nd, New Kings and Kingdoms. In this chapter we are going to cover some of these points. Emergence of new dynasties during 7th to 12th century, administration in the kingdoms, then precious peace and land grants, warfare for wealth, and then a closer look the Cholans. So step by step these all points we are going to cover. New dynasties during 7th to 12th centuries. First of all, my dear students, dynasty means what? Dynasty means ruling family. Also we used to say Raj Gharanas. So which dynasties were ruling on the Indian subcontinent during 7th to 12th centuries? My dear students, as I said earlier in the first chapter, that is, we are going to study medieval history this year. Medieval history means 7th to 18th century, whichever the incidents took place or which kings were ruling in between these periods, time of span. So that history we are going to study this year. So here new kings and new dynasties which ruled over the Indian subcontinent during the 7th to 12th century, this times period, there were Rashtrakutas, Gurjara Pratiharas, Cholas, Palas, Chahamanas, means Chauhanas, there were the Pandyas. So all these dynasties were ruled on the Indian subcontinent. So the question might be arised in your mind that these all dynasties were ruling at same time or one after another. So here I will show you map of India. You will come to know better. Here this is Indian subcontinent, and on this Indian subcontinent these dynasties were ruling at the same period. Can you see the color patches over here? These color patches described various different dynasties. You can see here Rashtrakuta dynasty on the Deccan part of our Indian subcontinent. Then Palas, they ruled towards the eastern part of our country. Gurjara Pratiharas as well as Chahamanas, they were ruling north part of our subcontinent, as well as Cholas, they were the south part of our continent. So these dynasties, they were ruling at the same period but on the various different regions. The emergence of new dynasties. How these new dynasties occurred, how they derived, so we will see. See students, there were the kings, they were having huge piece of land or kingdom. So one king cannot do the administration well on such a huge kingdom. So what they were doing? They were appointing officials to administer a particular piece of land. For that reason, king divided their kingdom, these kings divided their kingdoms into various pieces of land, and on that various pieces of land they appointed some of the landlords or warrior chiefs. So those warrior chiefs or landlords, kings often acknowledge them as their samantas or subordinates. Now who were these samantas or subordinates? So samantas or subordinate, such officials, those officials were appointed by the kings on the particular piece of land. So these kings, they were expecting from samantas or subordinates, what they were expecting? They were expecting gifts as well as military support. These kings, we know very well, they always wanted to expand their territory. For that Whenever battles happening, that time they were required military support. So those military supports they were taking from Samantas or subordinates. Now, these Samantas or subordinates, they were having piece of land, administration, responsibilities. So what they used to do, they used to collect taxes from that piece of land. Hence, what was happening? Slowly, they started to gain power, to increase their power as well as wealth. They were started to collect lot of wealth also, and hence slowly these Samantas or land subordinates they become Mahasamantas. They declare themselves Mahasamantas or Mahamandaleshwara. Mahamandaleshwara means the great lord of the particular entire region, and in that manner these Samantas or subordinates they declare themselves independent lord of that particular region, means king of that particular region. So now you understood these new dynasties whichever emerged during 7 to 12th centuries. These dynasties actually the founder of those dynasties were Samantas or subordinates, and they acquired power and they declared themselves as a lord of that particular regions. So in that manner the emergence of new dynasties took place. Among the new dynasties, you can see the Rashtrakuta dynasty founder King Dantidurga. Dantidurga, he was also Samanta, means subordinate, who was under the control of king's ruling power. But slowly he acquired lot of gain, lot of wealth and lot of power, and he became the ruler, and also he became the founder of Rashtrakuta dynasty. So which earlier he was the Samanta of Chalukya dynasty, but he overthrew the Chalukya's ruling power, and he established his own control on the Chalukya's land, and he established over there his own kingdom, and it considered as Rashtrakuta dynasty. So remember, Rashtrakuta dynasty founder was Dantidurga, and earlier he was the king. Earlier he was Samanta. But before declaring himself as a king, he performed one ritual, and it was the ritual called as Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha, it is a Sanskrit word which actually means golden womb. Means after this ritual, when this ritual performed, the person who was not belongs to Kshatriya caste, considered as Kshatriya, and then he would be able to rule over the region. So here kings who gave up the traditional professions, in that we will see Dantidurga. He was earlier Samanta, but after performing Hiranyagarbha ritual, he declared himself as a king. Then Kadamba Mayurashravan, he belongs to Karnataka region, and also Gurjara Pratihara Harishchandra, Rajasthan, belongs to Rajasthan. Actually these two kings, they were by birth they were Brahmanas, but they changed their profession to rule the region. So here we can see the kings who changed or who gave up their traditional profession, Brahmins to Kshatriya, to rule over the region. Now administration in the kingdoms. We have seen that the Rashtrakuta dynasty founded, as well as Kadamba Mayurashravan, Gurjara Pratihara, they also became the rulers. They also founded dynasties. But how the type of the administration is, how the society administration is, rules and regulations, how society was working the kings in the society at the apex level, means at the top level, there were the kings. Then after kings, kings means the king, they shared their entire region among the samantas, or and also association of peasants, traders, as well as brahmanas. Then these kings, they were at the apex level. They titled themselves like Maharaja, Adhiraja, Tirubhuvan Chakravarti, high sounding, high profile titles. They adopted themselves as they become new kings. Means they were the Samantas, they were earlier they were Brahmanas, and then newly they become kings. So they high sounding titles they adopted by themselves to them only. And then they shared their powers among the Samantas, peasants, associations. Now, these kings, how they were establishment and the construction purpose, money acquiring or the wealth acquiring. So the resources means the things which obtained from the producers who were persuaded to surrender part of what they produced. Means that time from the people they were collecting the taxes. Whatever the product was produced by the producers, from them they were taking the product, and that in the form of the taxes. We used to pay today. Nowadays we used to pay taxes. Similarly, they were also, these common people also paying taxes to their kings. But today we are paying taxes in the form of money, and that is also in the particular percentage and the particular format, or the particular in the way we are providing taxes or paying taxes to the government. So here these resources or the producers, whatever products they were paying in the form of taxes, those taxes or those produces used for establishment of force as well as military power, as well as construction of temples. So whatever the amount of taxes which collected from the people, that was they were using for construction of temples as well as forts and establishment of kings. Huge palace, luxurious lives, huge gardens, as well as whatever the luxury amenities. For that reason, these resources were being used. Here, the taxes purpose. We have studied here the common people, they were paying taxes, but for taxes collection purpose, or the high officials which were collecting the taxes, which people were recruited for that post. So the king's families as well as some of the influential families which were very close to kings and their families, such people they were appointed as a tax collector. So that time also we can see the corruption was happening. So do you got the point? This is administration in the kingdoms. What type of administration was there? So here the administration was divided into several people, among the several people like Samantas, association of peasants, traders and the brahmanas, as well as the taxes were taxes were collected from the producers, and these taxes were collected from the people those who were very close to the king's families. Now the prashastis and land grants. My dear students, the prashasti word you have heard or we have studied in standard 6 also. Do you remember prashasti from Allahabad stone inscriptions? Allahabad pillar, stone pillar. On that stone pillar, prashasti of Samudragupta, King Samudragupta, which was written by his court poet Harishina. So prashasti, this is the Sanskrit word which is mean of in praise for, and land grants. So this prashastis means praise, in praise for, whose praise or who were written these prashastis or what included in that prashastis. So I will tell you, these Prashastis were written by Brahmanas in Sanskrit language, and in that Prashastis, Brahmanas were depicting kings as valiant and victorious warriors. As the king, that how he was a great warrior, how he was a valiant, as well as their depiction about their administration and so on. So about the particular king administration, as well as his life, which as well as the account which shows how king was valiant as well as great warrior. It is written in Sanskrit language by Brahmanas called as Prashastis. So when they heard these Prashastis from the Brahmanas, they feel very happy, and in the form of reward, they were offering to the Brahmanas gifts. Those gifts in the form of most probably lands. So whenever these Brahmanas, they were offering Prashastis to the particular king, the kings especially in the form of a reward, they were giving to those Brahmanas a reward in the form of land. Especially Brahmanas, these Prashastis, they were not writing on the paper, because paper after some times that misuse might be, or it will be not remain for a longer time. For that reason, these Prashastis were recorded on the copper plate or many times on the stone in the form of inscriptions also. Here one of the image of Prashasti, which is which is written by Brahmanas and handed over to the, after completing, handed over to the kings, and in place of these Prashastis in the form of reward, Brahmanas they were acquiring land grants from the kings. Now the next point, that is warfare for wealth. Warfare means warfare activities for the acquiring wealth, acquiring territories or particular regions. So among that, tripartite struggle. What is tripartite struggle? This word is quite new for you. Tripartite struggle means what? So when for centuries, Gurjara Pratihara, Rashtrakuta and Pala dynasties. These three dynasties, they continuously, for longer period, they fought with each other. For what reason they fought? To acquire one territory, it was Kanauj. So to obtain or to control over the Kanauj, these three parties, they were continuously having conflicts among them. So the long drawn conflicts is known as tripartite struggle, and tripartite struggle, in it three parties were involved. Here you can see Gurjara Pratihara, Pala dynasty, Rashtrakuta dynasty. You can see here is Rashtrakuta dynasty, then here Gurjara Pratihara, and here the Pala dynasty. So these three dynasties, they were having longer time conflicts with each other. For what purpose? To obtain the prized land. Prized land means the land which was very, very precious. Which land? Kanauj. Kanauj land, which was situated near the Ganga valley, and which was having the good way water transportation, as well as fertile land availability, as well as the water availability. So to obtain control over this land, Kanauj, these three parties were continuously, they were having conflicts with each other, and this conflict was called as tripartite struggle. Dynasties which fought for control over Kanauj, Gurjara Pratihara, Palas and Rashtrakutas. This slide is very, very important. You have to see it carefully. Ghazni. Now Mahmud of Ghazni, he was the Sultan of Afghanistan. Sultan means a ruler. In Arabic language, Sultan word is used for the ruler. So Sultan Mahmud Ghazni, he was raided the subcontinent 17 times. Listen my dear students, 17 times he raided, he attacked on Indian subcontinent. For what purpose he attacked? His sole purpose was to plunder the wealth of India, to loot various temples as well as various places where precious things were available. For that reason, he looted various temples, he destructed the huge monuments also. Among that, Somnath temple in Gujarat. Mahmud Ghazni, he was interested a scholar named Al-Biruni to write an account of subcontinent. Al-Biruni, he was traveler, he written account of the Indian subcontinent when he arrived in India. So he was also the court scholar of Mahmud Ghazni. So here Sultan Mahmud Ghazni, he arrived and he attacked on subcontinent many times. We have to remember, and especially when any king attacking on the other kings, so whatever the things, precious things, prosperous things of that king's belongings, the attacker kings trying to demolish those things. So here Sultan Mahmud Ghazni, whenever he attacked on Indian subcontinent, he tried to demolish the prosperous things whichever available in India subcontinent, especially was targeting prosperous temples for loot. Next is warfare for wealth. In that, Chauhanas are also called as Chahmanas. These Chauhanas, they were ruled the region near the Delhi and Ajmer, but they were having their eagle eye on Chalukyas of Gujarat as well as Gadwals of western Uttar Pradesh also. Means these Chauhanas, they were trying to expand their territory beyond the Delhi and Ajmer also. So for that reason, many a times they attack on Gujarat also and Gadwals also. Here, among the popular Chauhana rulers, in that Prithviraj III was a popular Chauhana rulers who also defeated once to Muhammad Ghori in 1191, but at the same next year he lost to him, means Muhammad Ghori, and this was the end of the Prithvi Chauhanas. Then closer look, Cholas. Now Chola Empire of India, great empire of India, that is the Chola Empire, we are going to study. So here is the Chola Empire on the Indian subcontinent, the region which was acquired by the Chola emperors. You can see here southern part of our Indian subcontinent which was acquired by the Chola emperors. In this we can see there is a river Kaveri. Kaveri is also river where this Chola administration or Chola kingdoms were there. Important river Kaveri, and the other rivers were also there. Now the Cholas, these Cholas were from a small family from Urayur, and the successor of Vijayalaya. Vijayalaya was also a great ruler who conquered the neighboring regions and the kingdoms, and then he established his kingdom in the huge size, and he also increased his power. Among the Chola rulers, Rajaraja I, he was considered as the most powerful Chola ruler. He expanded his control over the most of these areas. See, these Cholas were belonging Rajaraja first, then his son Rajendra first. They were the great ruler from this dynasty, and they expanded this Chola kingdom into a vast territory. His son Rajendra's first conquered Sri Lanka and countries of Southeast Asia also. Then these Cholas, the unique feature of this Chola administration, that during Chola administration or Chola dynasty, various temples were built in the southern part of our continent, as well as various bronze sculptures. We will see here. You can see here Urayur. From Urayur, from small family, this Chola dynasty rulers were derived, and slowly they expanded, means Vijayalaya and their successors, they expanded this small Chola kingdom into a vast kingdom. They expanded towards the whole southern part of our country. Then these Chola rulers, especially they were well known for to the bronze sculptures. These such a way bronze sculptures purpose also these Chola dynasty rulers gave a eminent support for the bronze sculptures. Then the splendid temples purpose also Chola dynasty, well known here Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple. It is also one of the unique sculpture which built during the Chola dynasty, as well as temple of Thanjavur and temple at Gangaikonda Cholapuram. Then these Chola dynasties, they were having very unique command over the agriculture and irrigation plannings. Here we can see, earlier I said that is in the southern part of our country, Kaveri is one of the very important river. So here agriculture and irrigation facilities also widely developed due to the Kaveri river. Here Kaveri river which meets to Bay of Bengal, and before that the delta region means near this occurred. So here Kaveri river overflow frequently, and for that reason water availability, widely water is available over this region. Also due to the Kaveri river provides necessary moisture, and necessary moisture is very good for the agricultural better production. Then there in the agriculture, cultivation of rice especially taken place. Last scale of cultivation which is opened up from 5th or 6th century. Then in the agriculture they did many great things, such as they did the area, they expand the area by clearing the forest. By forest they had to be cleared. Then the land had to be labeled, they labeled the land, as well as delta region embankments. That embankments means embanks means they have made the bunds over the river, so that flood situation should not prevent the flood situation, as well as canals. We know the canals which are especially attached to the dams or the rivers. So canals also they constructed to carry the water to the farms. Wells were dug, many wells dug during these periods, as well as artificial tanks. So these artificial tanks to collect the rainwater. For rainwater harvesting, they built the tanks also. Now this is the image of sluice gate. Sluice gate means this is one of the irrigation purpose, unique feature of irrigation during this Chola dynasty, means the tank water, whatever the tank water is stored in the tanks, and overflow, whatever the water is overflowing, that water with the help of these channels which is released, and these channels were attached to the various canals, and those canals water were available to the agricultural fields. So for this building, this all irrigation facilities purpose, my dear students, lot of planning required, lot of labors required, lot of resources required, as well as how that water share with the others. So that purpose also great technology as well as a lot of efficiency required, and it was we have seen during we have seen in the Chola rulers. Now the administration of empires. During the Chola administration, what type of administration was there? So there were the administration of empires was also well organized. Ur means the settlement of peasants, small peasants, and after many wars they together called as nadus. So these when these agricultural as well as irrigation facilities were provided to entire region, these they become prosperous and spread of these become prosperous, and such means group of together together means in the larger units called as nadu. Nadu is what that performs several administrative functions including dispensing justice as well as collecting taxes. So the means the administration collection of the taxes as well as solving the disputes between the people, between the laborers or between the people, that was done in the Nadu. We can see the peasants, rich peasants. Rich peasants were called as, rich peasants were especially belongs to Velala caste, and they were having the control on the Nadu. Means Nadu, head of the Nadus were Velala caste, Velala caste people. They were supervising the whole Nadu means whole village, that larger units, as well as they were under the supervision of central Chola government, means under the rulers, whichever the officials were there, those officials keeping watch on these Velala caste people, that they were doing proper administration or not. So some rich landowners were honored with the titles like Vendavalan. Vendavalan means it is a title which was given to the Velala caste administrative person for their better administration purpose. And Ventilian as well as Arayar also, and they were also interested with important offices of the state at the centers. Means those who rewarded people, they were also getting the high post at the state level also. Then we will talk about Brahmanas. These Brahmanas, earlier we know that is earlier we have studied about these Brahmanas. They were having they were getting the land grants whenever they were writing prashastis for the particular king. Brahmanas often receive land grants or Brahmadeya. Brahmadeya means land belongs to Brahmanas. A large number of Brahmanas settlements emerge in the Kaveri Valley in the other parts of South India, as in the other parts of South India, because these in the form of land grants, these Brahmanas, they receive the land in the Kaveri Valley, and for that reason, if we will see entire southern part, most probably Brahmanas, they were having the lands in the near the Kaveri Valley, as they received in the form of land grants. So each Brahmadeya was looked after by an assembly or sabha of prominent Brahmana landholders, which worked efficiently. Means there were the sabhas, and those sabhas were having the prominent landholder was called as the landholders. Their decisions were recorded in detail in inscriptions on the stone of walls of temples. So whenever any sabhas, whenever any decisions taken place which were very important, so such a decisions were recorded in the form of inscriptions, sometimes on the pillars, sometimes on the temple of walls. Now the types of lands. What type of lands were there during the Chola administration? So that time there were the Brahmadeya, the land called as Brahmadeya. So Brahmadeya means the land given to Brahmanas as a grant. The kings, they were giving land in the form of land grants to the Brahmanas. So what they used to say to such a land? Brahmadeya. So all their people, they were considered that this land is a Brahmadeya, means the land belongs to Brahmanas. Next is Velan Vagai. So Velan Vagai means the land of non-Brahmana peasants proprietors. Means the Velan Vagai, such a piece of land which belongs to peasants. Then the Shala Bhoga. Shala Bhoga means some of the piece of land which was given by the kings to the particular region, and for what purpose that land should be used? For maintenance of a school. So for school maintenance purpose, whatever the production from that land obtained, that production or that piece of land production was used for the maintenance of a school. So the Shala Bhoga means the land belongs to maintenance of a school. Then Devdana. Devdana means the land gifted to temples. Some of the kings and the high merchants or the traders, they were giving in the form of Devdana or in the form of the grants to the particular temple maintenance and other rituals purpose or fair or festivals holding purpose. They were offering lands to the temples called as Devdana. Then Palichandam. Palichandam means the land donated to Jaina institutions. So Jaina institutions for to doing the activities or for to regular maintenance and all Jaina institutions, the land belongs such a land called as Palichandam. So here we can see the new words, some of the new words which passed from by going through these chapters. Sultan is an Arabic term used for the rulers. Then Ur means settlements of peasants, and that Nard means group of Urs. Means several